There is an idea of a Loid forger, some kind of abstraction, but there is no real him, only an entity, something illusory. And though he can hide his cold gaze, and you can shake his hand and feel flesh gripping yours, maybe you can even sense that your lifestyles are probably comparable, he simply is not there. A sad orphan boy, victimized by circumstances out of his control. A cold-hearted spy committed solely to his mission. Who is the real Twilight? As a child, was a normal boy with a normal childhood. He had friends to play with, parents that protected and cared for him, in a town that he could call home. Until he didn't. Everything that was seen as a constant in his life simply wasn't anymore. His friends, parents, community were all taken from him without ever being given a say in the matter. What could any child have possibly done to deserve having their life ripped away from them? Well, the answer to that question is nothing. When bad things happen to people, it isn't always their fault. Sometimes the world is just that unfair. Reasonable advice would tell you to just deal with it. Try and live a happy life despite the despair that will come with it. That answer would probably satisfy most, but was different. Unlike the rest of us, he decided that such an existence did not deserve to be complied with. He took what he believed to be the optimal pathway to enacting real change and joined his nation's military. These ideals manifest in the identity that he took on when joining the army. Roland Spoofy. Roland Spoofy was a name from someone from his hometown, almost as if it were picked as a relic of a happier time, or perhaps a reminder for what he fights for. Roland, despite lying about his age, would work his way up to sergeant. His talents were enough to elevate himself, but not much more. After being reunited with the friends he thought died all those years ago, those same friends would go off to die on a poorly planned mission. So once again, Roland finds himself powerless, unable to create any real change. Despite having adopted a new purpose and life goal, he still cannot protect those close to him. War goes on, unchanging, with suffering being as inevitable as the sun rising. But after a while, he would come to know that the world isn't as simple as he thought it was. One day, an opportunity would be given to him to make the change he always wanted. Seizing that opportunity, Roland would turn into something different, something stronger, better equipped to fulfill his life goal. This opportunity would produce the man we know as... What is a spy? According to Tetsuya Endo's Spy Family, a spy is one who can be invisible, one who can risk life and limb to help win the battles that don't get reported on. A spy must be willing to sacrifice the joys of a normal life, such as the meaningful relationships one makes, for the purpose of fulfilling his mission. No one fits this description of what a spy should be better than Twilight. Even within the world of Spy Family, Twilight is seen as the standard for what a spy should be, garnering respect and admiration from his fellow spies. The obvious caveat for this lifestyle is that inability to have any sense of normality. Twilight creates different personas and lives as these fake people only until the mission is complete. Our first introduction to Twilight is him ending a relationship with the daughter of a politician with no regard for her feelings. Living a lie, focusing on suppressing his true self and expressing a false person leads Twilight to be unable to truly understand people. He doesn't view people as people, but rather as either potential threats or potential assets. This lifestyle may raise red flags to us, the viewers, but to Twilight, this is never shown to be a problem. At least, not until... Operation Strix forces Twilight to form a family of his own, to infiltrate the illustrious Eden College, a private school housing all of the country's elites, all to get close to Donovan Desmond, the greatest threat to peace between Ostania and Westeros. Twilight assumes the persona of Loid Forger, and assembles his family. Anya is an undersized yet precocious orphan who's bounced around from family to family. Yor is a strange, but ultimately unassuming single woman, who interestingly enough, pursued him, because she too needed to form a fake relationship. After only a bit of pushback, Twilight accepts his mission, ready to add it onto the long list of peace-preserving missions he's completed as Twilight. However, This mission would challenge him unlike any other. In the Forger household, Loid is not the only one keeping secrets. Anya was raised in a lab for much of her 4 or 5 or 6 years on Earth. Scientists planned to use her ability to read minds to bring world peace. However, this noble goal ensured that Anya would never live a normal life. She never knew her birth parents or had any friends, with her only home being a government lab. But one day, Anya had had enough. She escaped the laboratory and achieved her freedom. But her luck on the outside world wasn't much of an upgrade. Anya was moved from orphanage to orphanage, household to household, never finding anywhere to call home, no one to call family. That is until the initiation of Operation Trix. Loid Forger was able to give Anya the home she'd been yearning for, but Anya's telepathic abilities led her to reading Mr. Forger's mind and discovering his real reason for adopting her. Loid needs her to do her best at the Eden College and become a Stella student so he can get close to Donovan Desmond and save the world. Anya sees this mission and tries her best to help out her papa. Sadly, the impression readers are given is that Anya wants to earn Stella's just so she can earn Loid's love and give him a reason to want to keep her. Your secret is pretty similar to Loid's. At a young age, she became an assassin for a secret governmental organization, accepting jobs to dispose of national security threats. Her reason for getting into the business was to provide for her little brother in the absence of their parents. Working so hard in such an extreme field, in addition to needing to keep her true profession a secret, has led Yor to growing up differently from others. In short, Yor's extraordinary alter ego, the Thorn Princess, has forced her into being unable to live an ordinary one as Yor Briar. One day, when Yor hears that the secret police are cracking down on all abnormal behavior to find any spies within their country, Yor realizes that she must better blend in with society, because even just being a single woman in her mid-20s is not enough to remove suspicion. Luckily, at a local tailor, she runs into benevolent Dr. Loid Forger, a single father raising his daughter and trying to get her into the prestigious Eden College to fulfill the wish of his late wife. Eventually, they make a deal to live with each other, so that she can maintain her cover and remove any suspicion from herself, so that Loid can have her stand in as Anya's mother for the interview. They eventually make arrangements for their illusion to become long-term. With Yor's lifestyle, she had been unable to enjoy any type of normalcy. This inability to relate to anyone was slowly eating her alive. But the highlight of this scene is when a bloodied, partially concussed Loid bursts into the room, mistakenly announcing himself as Yor's husband. It was akin to a knight arriving just in time to save the princess. Joining the Forger family and just simulating what a nice, simple family is like was enough to give her a taste of all that she'd been missing. In Chapter 5 of the manga, Episode 4 of the anime, Twilight takes the Forgers to the Eden College interview. In the interview, one of the interviewers is extremely disrespectful to Yor and even Anya. To Yor, he insults her ability as a mother and asks Anya if she would prefer her old mother. Anya cries upon hearing this question, and when you consider the fact that Anya probably doesn't even remember this original mother the man speaks of, it makes what the man is saying even worse. Hearing his family be disrespected angers Loid, and he snaps, nearly punching the man in the face. He states that the Forgers have no business in such an institution, and storms out of the interview. Loid, of course, immediately regrets his actions. He had let his emotions get the best of him, and let himself lose control over people he hasn't known for more than a couple of weeks. This mistake could theoretically cost the entire mission. So what exactly is it about these two that made the great Twilight make such a silly mistake? If you look at what we're told about Anya's backstory, you'll see certain parallels to Twilight's. The powerlessness of a life being dictated by outside forces beyond your control, the solitude of being separated from family. In Chapter 62, these parallels are hinted at pretty heavily. While unconscious, Loid had a dream about the past where he recounted his life up until that point. Upon waking up, he doesn't remember much of anything, but he is sure to give Anya a bit of advice, telling her to cherish the friendships she's gained at school. On the Yor front, the parallels are a bit more subtle. Loid connected with her pretty early into their relationship. At the party, Loid hears about Yor's history with her little brother, and some of the lengths she was forced into to take care of him. Twilight talks about it being a selfless and thankless job, and reflects on his own life, and all the perilous but ultimately unrecognized missions he's endured over the years. On his face, you can see that even he would like a bit of acknowledgement every now and then. Now finally, he's found someone that can kinda understand that struggle. In addition to these commonalities, the quality time that they spend together brings Twilight closer to Yor and Anya. Simply solving problems or practicing with someone will do wonders for relationship development. And with everything we've been given in the story, it isn't something that Twilight has gotten to experience for a long time. Now, he obviously doesn't know the truth about Yor or Anya, but of what he does know about them, the shared experiences are still plenty strong, and their strength would only be reinforced by the revelation of their secrets. Now, having said all of this, there's a crucial problem that arises. Even though Twilight has these strong connections with the Forgers, he is not the one that reached out to them, that brought their family together. The one to be credited with that accomplishment is not him, but Loid Forger. In Chapter 62, Loid wakes up from his long dream, and for a second, he's lost his bearings. When he realizes where he is, he refers to it as Loid's house, rather than his own. This shows that he doesn't see himself as Loid Forger, rather Loid is a performance. From his perspective, Anya and Yor form their bonds with Loid, not Twilight. Twilight does all the work, yet Loid gets the love. He's living someone else's life, and he's slowly growing tired of it. But if you, my audience member, were listening critically, perhaps you realized a tiny flaw in my reasoning. Why was our main character upset about not getting credit when Twilight is known worldwide for his exploits? Think about it. Throughout the manga, he refers to himself as Twilight as opposed to Loid. If Twilight is a world-renowned super spy, why would he feel as if he is not getting credit? The answer is because Twilight does not see himself as Twilight. The persona, Twilight, like Loid Forger or Roland Spoofy, are all roles, performances. It's as if he were putting on one of his masks, pretending to be somebody that he's not. The question we then must ask ourselves is, who is the real Loid Forger? Well, we don't really know. Is he the scared little boy whose whole world was taken from him? Maybe he is. Is he the angry, passionate young man committed to creating real change, ready to take on the world if he has to? I think so. Is he the cold, calculated master of espionage, prepared to do whatever it takes to fulfill his missions? The truth is, he is all these people, but none of them. Within Loid, therein lies still the trauma of his childhood, the passion of his youth, and the drive of his adulthood. Answering the question of which person Loid best identifies with isn't all that helpful, at least for this conversation. But what I think is a more fruitful, or at least more interesting pursuit, would be that of finding out who Twilight can become. To me, that answer is rather simple. He can become Loid Forger. He has a life that a growing part of Twilight has always craved. I might even say that Loid is someone who Twilight could have become, had his life not been taken from him. But the thing standing in the way of him becoming Loid Forger is Twilight, and everything that identity represents. When Twilight was approached by the sketchy recruiter and presented the opportunity to become Twilight, we witnessed him making a promise to his younger self, that he would strive to find a way to prevent anyone from living a life like his. As Twilight, he could make actual progress towards his naive, but optimistic goal of finding world peace. But after feeling the love of a real family again, for the first time since it was robbed from him such a long time ago, this goal was starting to become more of a burden. But burdensome as it may be, can Loid ever truly let go of it? Would that be a selfish decision, betraying his younger self? As Spy Family continues, we the audience will be presented with this question of which life our main character will choose. I can make a really convoluted spiel about which life I believe he would take, but that'd be unnecessary. All I need to say is this: what man in his right mind would say no to these faces? Thanks for watching. If you'd like, leave a comment down below on what you thought. Be sure to like the video and subscribe for more. Keep an eye out for my next video. I'll be covering a dynamic between two major characters from Jujutsu Kaisen. Well, till next time.